Welcome to 1850 Main Street, a place where friends get together and talk about their country and hope for a brighter future. Your hosts have built this spot over the past 40 years, meeting every day with people who are in the headlines and behind the real stories. Today, Rob Walgate from the American Policy Roundtable and Alan C. Duncan, executive producer of the Public Square Media Network, are at the table by the fireplace.
Is the state of legalized sports gambling as bad as we said it was going to get? Or is it worse?
Rob, is there a nice way to say, I told you so?
Yeah, I think you just did.
Okay.
The problem with, we live in a society where people want to say, I told you so, even when they don't tell you so.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Well, I think in this case, you can go back through our archives and see we really did try to tell you so. The organization we're a part of, the American Policy Roundtable, the Public Square, 1850, we've been talking about the dangers of legalized gambling since the 80s.
Yeah, the American Policy Roundtable has been working against the expansion of gambling since the 80s, talking about the economic prosperity that is promised when it shows up. Mm-hmm. Doesn't always come to fruition.
No. And there are unintended consequences.
Oh, many unintended consequences. And all the promises of rainbows and puppies for everybody, just that doesn't play out. That's not reality.
Well, my dad recently sent an article around to the team. He stumbled upon something that he thought we might be interested in talking about from the USA Today.
He sent it to me, you, and Mark Zimmerman.
Yeah. The headline being, Getting Death Threats from Aggrieved Gamblers. MLB players starting to fear for their safety.
Yeah, and the fact of the I told you so, I'm not even sure that we had the I told you so on that. Like, we didn't. I'm not even sure we thought it would go that far. We had the I told you so with there's going to be a lot of people that lose money.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of marriages destroyed. There's going to be a lot of families that don't get to take trips that they were going to get to take and make memories together because dad's a gambling junkie. And the reason we know that is, unfortunately, some of us have the scars from it. Right. We've lived it. We understand it. It's a reality. And it always amazes me is we live in a society where they say people are down. The economy, people need to start saving, all these things. And all we do is continue to introduce more ways for people to waste money.
Well, I think you actually did just say it then. That's the nice way to say I told you so. It's worse than I thought it was going to be. Even we didn't think it would be this bad. But yeah, so let's get to what some of these baseball players are going through. The article starts off and says they receive death threats. They are followed home by strangers. They are abused and derided. One player says, and now some of these are bleeped and all kinds of stuff. He said, but one of them said, and hide your wives, hide your children at this part, but says, I'm going to kill you and then kill your family. These are some of the things that are being said to these major players. A player
received those threats from a fan.
They're saying it's getting really ugly. It's getting scary. It's getting sad. It used to be that fans who were upset with you because you blew the game for the team, but now it's gambling. These people don't really care about the teams. They just care about whether or not they're winning or losing money on them.
Yeah, they're in almost like a trance-like state sometimes when people get sucked into this. Now, some people may be listening to this say, oh, no, I can bet $5, $10. I can do it. Well, we understand we're not talking about every single person, but we are talking about a select percentage of the population, so much to the fact that you're talking about Major League Baseball players that are saying they're being threatened during games and they're not laughing it off. But I'm not sure that anyone ever thought we'd get to an environment where you have kiosks or you have, in essence, gambling parlors inside the stadium that these guys are playing in. I mean, remember when we were kids, it may have been a long time ago, but it doesn't seem like that long ago. Gambling was taboo. I mean, you really didn't even talk about the lines on television. I mean, gambling, arguably the greatest hitter of all time has been blackballed by Major League Baseball and is not permitted to be a part of the Hall of Fame.
That has to change at some point, right? At this point,
it'll be like anything else. They'll wait till he dies and then they'll do it. I mean, because we refuse to honor people when they're alive. We wait till they're dead.
But at this point, we owe the 1919 Black Sox an apology, right?
Well,
I mean, This is,
or at least can see their justification for it.
Right.
So to get to the point we're at now, where people are sitting in the stands and you can bet on whatever you want from your mobile device, I mean, it's no wonder, especially, and this is going to sound like a knock on baseball. It's not meant to be a knock on baseball. Baseball is like art in the sense of it's a bit more slow moving and you have to appreciate it.
Yeah, you really have to be a fan of the game.
You have to love the game to go. And that's why, though, when you go to games, whether it's a minor league game or a major league game, there are always things between innings. That's why they put a pitch clock in, for crying out loud.
Right.
Because we couldn't handle the boredom of Americans in this society where we're constantly scrolling on our phones, where nothing can hold our attention for more than 15 or 20 seconds. They put a pitch clock in to keep the game moving because it was taking too long.
Well, that's why I was surprised that we've seen these issues with problem gamblers and the threats to baseball players. I thought that baseball's popularity was somewhat waning. You would think that you would see this in football or maybe basketball, and maybe you're going to. But it was just interesting to me that baseball, with its a bit waning popularity, is the first one out the box that we see this.
But remember, you're seeing it in other sports, I think, as well, from people taunting and yelling. But baseball, too, people that go to games, they have the ability for prop bets like they do other sports. So if they bet on Alan Duncan to have over 1.5 hits in the game, or a certain pitcher to get the win, or this player to hit a home run, that's where you see it come in, and they start attacking the player. And on the baseball is losing popularity in the United States argument, I mean, look no further than the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
Look at how they sell out everywhere they go. Why? It's not because baseball.
It's like a party. It's like a fun
It's
circus.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
They never stop. And they're coming to Northeast Ohio this summer, and I looked at ticket prices on the secondary market, and I said, boy, capitalism is alive and well. And good for them that they can sell out in every city they go to. But and there's an instance where no one's threatening any of those players, obviously, because it's all a bit staged, a bit more fun.
Because they haven't found out a way. They haven't found a way yet to bet on. So hopefully nobody does.
And we're seeing more and more players as well. Suspended. I think Major League Baseball is on 4 or 5 players that have been banned permanently from playing the game because they've wagered on baseball. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, should we act surprised that Major League Baseball, each respective team, is working with gambling partners? They're working with people on allowing gambling to take place on their property, at their on their premises, with their teams. They have official sports books of this, that, and the other. Are we really shocked? I mean, it's like the parent that is constantly doing a bad behavior and telling their children, but you don't do this.
Right.
Do what I say, not as I do. So are we shocked when the kids screw up? No. We can't be shocked when the players screw up either, especially in this instance.
When you subscribe to 1850 Main Street, you're the first to find out what's happening next with new guests, publications, and events. And when you spread the word about 1850 Main Street, you're helping others find real answers to the real questions facing America right now. To learn more, visit 1850mainstreet.com. And please, tell a friend.
Okay, back to this USA Today article that we've been sharing around. I wanted to read a few more of the threats that some of these Major League Baseball players are getting. Giants veteran reliever Tyler Rogers said, I had to make my Venmo private because I'd blow a game or something and people would find me on Venmo, which Venmo is the cash sharing app, and they'd send me requests. Hey, you cost me $1,500. You better pay me back. Now, I think everyone should probably just make their Venmo private right from the beginning, especially if you're in the public eye. But that's wild. These people are assuming he owes them money because he, quote unquote, cost them money. I think that's scary. Another player says, I can show you my DMs, my direct messages. They're full of people talking blank. saying how you cost them money and saying nasty things. That's part of it. It shouldn't be part of it, but it is part of professional sports. Now, here's the thing that's amazing to me. These players are dealing with death threats. Who's the last person that had to deal with death threats for playing baseball? Like, my mind goes to Jackie Robinson. Like, these people are dealing with the kind of vitriol that someone breaking the color barrier was dealing with decades prior. And now everybody's open to that kind of hatred because of gambling.
Yeah, I guess I never put it in that context and thought of it in that way, but the threats that are being made are happening all the time. I attended a professional sporting event recently. I went to the Memorial Golf Tournament, Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
So, and, golf's always been something I enjoy going to watch in person. You get to walk the course, to see how far those guys hit the ball is absolutely silly.
It is a unique viewing experience to get that close to these guys. Yeah.
Oh, and you get to, it's not like any other sport in the sense that if you buy a general admission ticket and you may be sitting in the last row in some of these places, or the cheapest ticket in the place. In golf, if you get to the right spot, you can be as close as you want to all the superstars. I mean, Scotty Scheffler can be 3 feet from you if you work ahead and know what you're doing and how to angle it. So that's really, really cool. Golf is different. But all that to be said, they have hospitality areas and tents. One of the biggest hospitality areas, one of the biggest sponsors was a gambling organization. It's there. And so there you have, and golf can be a little bit different. I know professional golfers have talked about this as well. When they get taunted or they get yelled at because of their performance, because you're able to gamble on whether player A beats player B for the day, or, they'll set it up on what this player shoots, the over under. There's so many things you can wager on, and the gamblers or the golfers are hearing that. Or if you took, under on a certain player for them to perform, so you thought they would perform poorly, whether it's them not beating another player or them not shooting a certain score, why not? Golf's the one where if you just holler in their backswing one time, maybe 2 times, that could be the difference of lots of dollars. Because
there's an etiquette with golf where you're supposed to be quiet while the people are working, and then you can cheer afterwards. Yeah. So
except for a few tournaments or a few specific holes each and every year. So, but yeah, I mean, you're going to see these stories aren't going away. I mean, they're not going away. What you're seeing in some states, though, is they're passing legislation that you can't do prop bets or individual bets for college athletes, for amateur athletics. So you can't bet on a football player that he's going to gain X number of yards over or under, because they're trying to shield the amateur. I guess death threats against amateurs are worse than death threats against professionals, even though there's some amateurs that make more money than professionals.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, what about how does name, image, likeness factor into this with college athletes? Are some people going to try to argue that they're not truly amateurs if they're getting some kind of compensation? I
would be willing to listen to that argument.
Sure. So I guess these new laws it's a step in the right direction, maybe, but it seems like a Band-Aid, if anything.
Oh, it's a giant Band-Aid. And you're also telling people that, hey, you're also telling these are 18, 19, 20, in some cases, 23, 24-year-old amateur athletes. They're grown men and women. They're adults. I mean, what's the protection for? If the protection is of the individual because of the threats they are receiving, then what about the other guys? Aren't we worried about the threats they receive? Why is that any different?
Especially if they're threatening their families, their wives and children. This is getting out of hand with baseball. So this article we've been sharing around, what's Major League Baseball going to do? What are they trying to do? We know some people are trying to pass laws. What's MLB trying to do?
Maybe they'll have a policy. A policy. Because here's the thing. No one ever used to read the back of the ticket. Where the back of the ticket talked about the dangers from throwing bats and balls. And now you don't even really have that danger as much because you have netting. It is a wonder. Sidebar. It is a wonder that it took so long to get netting down the first and third baseline, because they would just rocket balls and foul balls would come hard. I saw a guy get his arm broken in Pittsburgh once.
Did you really?
So, I've had friends, many may know, I went to Major League Baseball umpire school years and years ago, and some of my buddies actually made it to the major leagues as umpires, which isn't easy.
No,
years
that's amazing.
and years traveling the country in the minor leagues. So kudos to them. That's a tough job. I know they get a lot of flack because of video replay and everything. Listen, it's hard. Sports officiating is the only job in the world where you expect to be perfect on day one and then get better from there. But these guys that worked in the minor leagues used to tell me, minor leagues always have different promotions. Right. One thing they had was there's the women's group, the Red Hats, the Red Hat Women's Society, I believe. I don't know the official name. I'm sorry. But they said that they would come to the minor league games in this one city as a gathering. And they were always scared to death as umpires because those women didn't tend to pay. They were talking a lot. They were there to socialize. They weren't paying attention, and balls would just be drilled into foul territory. And those guys said they held their breath every time there was a foul ball because they thought someone was just going to get picked off. So anyway, there's netting up and down first and third base now.
Netting good.
It's protection. But anyway, how about a policy in place?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. This article says the union negotiated Amendment 61 to the collective bargaining agreement requiring teams to be proactive in curbing fans' aggressive behavior toward players. Quote, clubs shall include in their fan policies a prohibition against betting-related abusive fan speech and behavior that is directed at players, family members, and club personnel or umpires. So you're right. They're going to do a fan policy. Okay, so you're the kind of person who is in gambling debt, and you're the kind of person who will threaten to murder a player's family for $1,500 or whatever, but you're going to listen to a policy. I feel like that's not going to work.
Oh, it's not going to work, but they feel like it makes everyone happy because
we also have a safety hotline.
We have a policy in place, a safety hotline.
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever? Yeah, those work. Have you ever been to like Browns games when they have the hotline? Is there a complaint? Text this number. You ever read some of those complaints that they put out there?
No,
they talk about their performance on the field. Wide receiver can't catch. It's on. So yeah, those hotlines, they always work out well.
Yeah, that'll go good.
Everything's going to be fine. Here's the bottom line. You have an industry, the sports industry, that for years and years and years pushed the gambling interests to the side because they knew it was going to harm the integrity of the game. They knew it was going to harm the people that were participating in the game. But they got greedy. They sold out to the money. And then now you have teams and leagues that are more addicted to gambling than the people that sit in the stands. So as long as that still is in play, you can write all the policies you want. You're not going to stop this behavior.
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.